Joining us now is Rhonan Heitzmann. He runs the Saltspring Water Company, which pulls water from underground and distributes drinking water to areas considered more water vulnerable. Rhonan, you've been doing this work for 12 years now. What have you noticed about water shortages on Saltspring over the years?
Yes, well, in the Gulf Islands, we have a regular summer drought. So there's dry. It's always dry for 3 or 4 months, and that sometimes gets exacerbated. And so some people's groundwater gets a little bit stressed, and a lot of people, purchase water for irrigation and other reasons in order to prevent stress on their wells.
Now, we're seeing weather patterns change because of climate change and other factors, certainly drier, hotter summers. What does that mean for water on the island going forward, do you think?
Yeah, well, we obviously need to be careful. And in the last few years, we've noticed I've noticed a bit of a shift in trends from, our typically dry summers and often dry falls. Lately, there's been a couple of years where we've had extra dry springs where our normal rainwater recharge that happens in the spring has disappeared, and that's added extra stress to the groundwater through the summer. So it's really important for all of us to learn to store our abundant winter rains that come, to use rainwater harvesting as an example, to be more conservative with our use, to manage our water better, and we'll get through these changing times.
On Saltspring and other islands, what does that look like practically? More rain barrels? Do they need to build another reservoir? What do you think should happen?
Yeah, rain barrels, certainly help, but it's very minor. Usually like 3,000 gallon vertical storage tanks is an easy and cost-effective way to add significant storage to one's house, and that can be done relatively simply for non-potable purposes, for irrigating things like that, and it can also be used for potable sources as well.
Given your experience in water in this line of work, as things get drier and perhaps water gets scarcer, do you think people need to be prepared to pay more for this precious resource?
No, I don't think people need to pay more. There is a cost involved with rain storage, for example, especially if one is doing rain storage for potable water. So it's like any kind of infrastructure. It's a different kind of infrastructure, and it can be made more affordable by appropriate and intelligent government regulation, to tell you the truth. We need to incentivize this and to make it, easy for people to do, and not make it difficult for people to do.
And what do you mean by that? What would you specifically like the government to do to make it easier for people?
People use rainwater storage all over the world, so it doesn't need to be rocket science. It's a relatively simple thing to do, and we can make it easier for people to do that without being cost prohibitive.
And your business is quite reliant on drought conditions. How do you square that with the work on conservation and smart water policies?
I joke that I would love everyone to have enough storage so that I would go out of business. But that doesn't seem to happen because there's always someone that needs some support with their water, whether it be, a well fails or a pump fails or there's a leak in someone's system. There's always something happening. So my business is a stopgap. I'm just here to support. So the more collectively we work to manage our winter resources better and store it and manage it appropriately, there's lots of water for everyone.
Rhonan Heitzmann with the Saltspring Water Company. We appreciate your time and your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.